Hey guys, it's Gary here. I'm back with another video. This time I'm drawing on the first foldable phone with an S Pen, the Samsung Z Fold 3. I'm drawing on Clip Paint Studio and I'm drawing Aqua. And I ran into this issue about 20 layers in. So I've been drawing on this for like a week, this whole illustration. So let me get into the ins and outs, in depth, all the issues and stuff, what it's like to draw on a foldable phone. So I spent a week on this drawing, so I had all the experiences with the fold. It's so visible. No matter where you go, you see it. And I was drawing this in multiple different locations. I started this on my lunch break at work, and then a dinner table, and then you guys are gonna see so many different scene changes, and you're gonna see the fold throughout the entire duration of this video in all these different locations and up until we get back to my desk. So it's a thing that exists. You either get used to it or not. And does it affect the drawing? No, it doesn't. It actually does a really good job in Clip Paint Studio. It worked really well in Autodesk Sketchbook. I was amazed how well it works with Clip Paint Studio since it's such a complex program. Basically, the reason this is such an amazing feat, the digitizer, basically the layer of screen that lets you use that pen on this phone is actually two separate sheets on each side of the fold. So the middle portion, there's a crease, so all of that is software. There's no digitizer in the middle, so all of that is software that Samsung is using to predict your line stroke. And that's kind of amazing, especially since I spent hours on this drawing, and it was able to, I didn't even feel it. You wouldn't even know that until if you before I told you this, or if you guys saw some other fold videos. I didn't know that either, and so I thought that was kind of pretty amazing because I thought it was just one giant sheet digitizer that they fold, but it's not. That's some fantastic feat that Samsung has done. But there's some downsides. It does make drawing certain aspects very difficult. Personally for me, drawing the eyes was a little bit more difficult, even though drawing eyes is something I'm more comfortable with. It's just because of the slope, and on top of the rubbery tip of this. This isn't much of a harder tip on this S Pen, glides much more. And on some aspect, it does make it easy. Like when I was drawing this part of the hair, the loopy part of Aqua's hair, it made that easy. I feel like when you're doing very sketchy style, it's that glide is really nice. Otherwise, if you're doing some details, I would zoom in and draw more on outside of that curve aspect, because you do feel it when you're drawing, and it does impact it to some extent. It doesn't impact performance, meaning your lines won't get jittery and stuff like that. Oh, speaking about performance, Clip Paint Studio works pretty well on the Fold 3. It works fantastic. I was really surprised. And one of the downsides is that it only, at the recording of this video, only has the mobile version of Clip Paint Studio. So as you guys can see, the layout looks different compared to when I draw on my Tab S7 or even my Tab S6 Lite. So that was kind of a bummer. I don't know if Clip Paint Studio will update that in the future. I would really love if they could. At the same time, I do understand, even though the fold opened up is pretty big, Clip Paint Studio has so many different things going on that I feel like it might crowd the whole screen of it, but that would still be, I wish that was an option, because I could just turn off some of those features, so that way I can just have my layers on the side without me having to click through menus of menus. That was super tedious, which is one thing I don't like about this mobile version of Clip Paint Studio. Otherwise, it works fantastic. Besides the issue I showed you guys again in the beginning, that it started lagging around 20 plus layers, I have no idea why. I had a lot of stuff open. First of all, besides Clip Paint Studio, I'm a huge multitasker on this phone, but it's kind of crazy that at this price range, I expected it to kind of keep up, but I guess when it comes to drawing, because I need a layer for every little just because I like to be able to go back and fix stuff. So those are all my quirks for the performance issues. Otherwise, let's move on to the next section, the pen performance. The pen performance was fantastic, but I had some issues with the pressure not working very well across different brushes. I don't know if that's more of a Clip Paint Studio issue more than the S Pen. I had some, when I was using the mechanical pencil tool, my pressure felt more chunky than I was used to. And when I use different watercolor brushes, it worked differently on PC, but I'm not sure where the difference lies between hardware and software. I'm really hoping some software updates can fix that. Again, it wasn't so bad that I wasn't usable, but the lines I was making for the sketch, I wasn't super proud of. I had to go back and clean up a lot of them, and I just didn't like that. And even when I was like shading with the watercolor brush, it varied so much. It didn't really matter how much I was pressing into it, since again this is the fold, the screen is a lot more sensitive than any other Samsung digitizer that they have, so it like really that kind of bugged me a little bit, but it wasn't so bad to the point where it wouldn't let me draw per se. It's just something that I noticed because I've used their other products and I used this program before and I noticed a slight change, but I feel like a software update can really fix that since hardware is definitely there. Another issue with the pen was the S Pen button works. Like meaning like, you know, this little button right here, it actually erase on Clip Paint Studio. In other programs it doesn't always do that. That was fantastic. The bad thing was the design of this button. It's so tiny. Like it's really difficult to kind of press while you're drawing. It's poorly designed. You can hardly feel it, so it's hard to kind of like press it, and when you do, there's not as much feedback. So I really wish this was designed much better. Even the smaller S Pen on my Note 10 Plus has a better button than this one does, and that's just a bummer because I'm like, this is fantastic. Like I have Clip Paint Studio, and especially since there's no other S Pen alternative for the Fold 3 that has an eraser, this has been my only option instead of digging through countless menus just to get to an eraser. Thankfully, Clip Paint Studio has this auto switch thing on the top that lets you switch between an eraser, but that's more of a learning curve. I'd rather just like use the button. I'm used to using the button or being able to erase by just flipping my pen, but that's a bit of a bummer, especially at this price point. We're going in on all the little nuances. And to add to the nuance, I wish the pen was magnetic, or it could be tucked into the spine of the phone. I feel like that would make more sense, just because since there's no little slot for it, and if I don't take the time to remember to bring this pen, I will forget it. And the phone doesn't do a great job of reminding you. Like normally on the Note 10 Plus, since the pen is tucked in, if the pen is not put back in, the phone reminds you like, oh, make sure you grab the pen. And on this, there's no such thing on there. It's not magnetic, and I feel like that'll be a great feature to add. I feel like adding the S Pen inside of the phone would be ideal, but I worry that would make the phone clunky or it will affect other performance issues. So right now, magnetic is like the simpler, easier way to go. Or have more manufacturer come and make third-party versions of this pen, like the Norris, like the Samsung Norris pencil that I use all the time. All my other Samsung products, I really wish they make a version of that, just so that I can have an eraser, even if it's not magnetic or not. The eraser for me is just top priority, and then the magnetic aspect of it. And at least like that way I'll have multiple S Pens, so in case I forget one at home, I have another one I can use, since there's not many pens that you can use with this device since it's so sensitive. Let's talk battery life, baby. And it's not the best. It's not. Granted, I do have my Galaxy Watch attached to this via Bluetooth all the time, on top of I'm always using wireless earbuds. So on top of that, and then the drawing and the constant multitasking that I do, I'm a heavy Fold user. I use this phone to its full capabilities, and I feel like it's not as great as my Note 10 Plus. Drawing wise, after each session of drawing, since I drew this over the course of multiple days, let's say I draw an hour in each day, I wasn't really tracking. I did have to charge this a good significant amount since I was using the screen a lot, and yeah, so it's not the best. It's not. It could be better, but I understand since adding a bigger battery in there, I feel like would increase the size. So if you're gonna get this, make sure you always have a portable charger, a portable battery next to you, especially if you're gonna be drawing. Despite all my criticism and nitpicking, the convenience beats all of that. Being able to have a phone that's this small and wide makes it all worth it, personally for me, and I feel like for a lot of people. It folds out to be just the perfect size. It's not as big as the Tab S7 or the Tab S6 Lite. It's just like somewhere awkward in the middle, which it's like a tiny little square, like one of those square sketchbooks, if you guys ever had one. The convenience beats it all. This phone does drawing pretty well. It doesn't do it the best. Like the pressure works. I do have problems with the pressure varying, but it still works. It still works, and being able to use that on one device and have it small, oh, fantastic. It's still an inconvenience to carry the S Pen though, and it needs more third-party S Pens, so at least you can have multiple of them. So it's not perfect. I would not recommend getting this right now. It still feels like first-generation hardware in terms of the pen, especially when it comes to software. There's just so many little things that are not there yet. It still works. Like, I love using this thing day to day, but man, once Samsung perfects this, like, that's when will be the time to jump on. Or if you guys are watching this in the future and you're wondering what you're missing out, man, this is still good. This is still good for drawing. Like, I could still do a full illustration on this. It's just mind-blowing to me. Like, on Clip Paint Studio, like, Clip Paint Studio is one of the most, it's like, it might as well be the Photoshop of drawing. You can do so many things on there. Look at how I'm adding backgrounds and all this different stuff. So there's definitely a lot of potential, but for the price tag, is it worth it? If you get all the trade-ins and all the deals and you have great credit in the financing, the way that I was able to afford this phone, and I definitely recommend it. But if otherwise, I rather wait until the next fold, the better one, hopefully, when Samsung perfects this hardware and makes it a little bit less sensitive so the pressure works more evenly.